everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Talking with Our Traders. I'm the host, Cindy Edwards, and with me today, as always, is Craig Mucklow, Vice President of Trading at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello there.
Adam Pullen, Assistant Director of Trading here at Caesars.
Hello, everyone.
And Joey Fusil, Head of College Football here at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I cannot believe that we made it to NFL Week 18, and not only that, but the College National Championship, too.
We made it.
Always flies by.
It sure does. Well, that being said, let's get into it. Let's start with some college football. Should Michael Penix have won the Heisman, Joey?
No, I don't think he should have, despite his performance on Monday. He's obviously a very tremendous quarterback. He had NFL scouts just salivating with his performance in the semifinal. But he didn't perform that in every game down the stretch of the season where it really matters. Both Arizona games, he didn't play to his standards, and there just wasn't enough games. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be playing on Sundays, and he's going to be able to transition immediately to the NFL. I mean, he's 24. He should be able to. He has the experience. But I'm excited to see how he performs on Monday against the best defense in the country with Michigan.
Yeah, I agree with Joey. Obviously, the cutoff is when it was. So, obviously, if the vote were held now, he'd be the winner because he played well in a big game. But I think he'd rather take where he is now than having the Heisman Trophy, having a chance to win a national championship.
Right.
He looked great the other night in his passes. He was zipping them right in between defenders. I mean, he looked he looked good. So, but unfortunately, cutoff was when it was.
I couldn't disagree anymore. Look, my opinion hasn't changed after the Texas game or before. Penix beat 6 ranked teams in the regular season, an 8 for 20, 18, 11, and 5, and now he's just dispatched the number 3 Texas. He won 8 one-score games. To me, that's clutch. Daniels lost to 3 ranked teams, 8, 20, and 8. The only ranked win was 21 Missouri. Stat padding versus Georgia State is unsportsmanlike in my opinion. Devalued a great Heisman race. Penix was easily the better quarterback. Job done.
I would like Penix.
We wanted
Penix to win the Heisman. But I think if we're comparing Jaden Daniels to Michael Penix, I think Jaden still was the better throughout the season. But
okay, so if the draft is tomorrow and they're both in the draft, who gets drafted first?
Don't make me start doing work on draft.
The Heisman is not an NFL award.
Exactly.
NFL, how they're going to do it.
So,
But look, he didn't play as well down the stretch in the second half. Yeah. The second half of the season, he had some games that his stats weren't that great.
But he got the win.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
I agree.
Daniel's got 3 losses.
Yep.
Craig coming with facts, but do you think Penix...
And fire.
and fire. Great delivery. Do we think Penix is a little happy he almost didn't win the Heisman because he did avoid that Heisman curse?
Well, they did their best to lose it in the last drive.
All right.
He came in motivated. They had a great game plan. They played well. He played to his strengths. Probably some of the special teams and maybe the coaching decisions at the end. But then Texas gifted them as well with some play calling at the end of that last drive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But 2 tremendous games.
Yeah.
I mean, that really was a great advert for college.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the national championship game. We have number 1 Michigan versus number 2 Washington. Joey, break it down for us.
We made it. Another college football national championship. It means one thing. What's it mean, Craig? Can't criticize me for at least 8 months until next September.
Darn it.
But we have Washington, preseason 60-1 odds. Michigan, preseason 14-1 odds in the national championship. A high explosive offense against a very stingy defense. Both of these semifinal games were phenomenal. Couldn't ask for better. One game going to overtime, another one coming down to a 1-second play to determine who would advance. I mean, we couldn't ask for any more. We opened up this game, Michigan minus 4.5 and the total 56. We've not seen much movement at all. The total briefly dipped down to 55.5. It's now back up to 56. We're in a treat for this one. These 2 teams, very talented coaches, very talented group of players, and it's fitting to see these 2 of these teams in the finals. Both of these teams also were doubted throughout the stretch of whether they had enough. Obviously, it was Michigan. They didn't play enough. They had the controversy. And then Washington, like Craig said, they've won close games. So they weren't having that dominating performance like we saw with Oregon or Georgia. It was very exciting to see in this one. I do like Michigan in this one. I think that just they have they don't look pretty. Their win wasn't necessarily pretty against Alabama, but when they needed to get stuff done, they got it done. So yeah, this should be a very good one. Again, just like I said last week, you don't want to doubt Washington because they can prove that they're there when they need to.
Yeah. Handle-wise, I'd have preferred Texas versus Michigan. It's just the sexier of the matchups. We obviously took that huge bet on Texas to win outright last week.
Right.
The sicko in me, kind of, because we wanted Texas for the game, but we didn't need Texas for the futures. The sicko in me, as that last drive is going down, I'm like, well, maybe do we take the short-term win and then trade out in the final? So it is what it is. Those are the positions you end up with. But I thought a lot of teams made mental mistakes, especially on special teams.
Yeah.
And being a former professional athlete, as you can tell, when you dominate opponents so much, sometimes you can get complacent. That was what Michigan could have fell into.
Right.
Yeah, no, line seems right, in my opinion, where it should be. Michigan has a better defense, and that's what it's going to come down to. They held Alabama in check pretty much, except from like the start of the third quarter to middle of the fourth. But that's where what is Washington be able to do against that defense? It's not going to be the same as Texas's defense. That's a big key, but I wouldn't rule anything out. Obviously, I favor, like Joey, I think Michigan has the edge, but can't rule Washington out. They just got something in them where they win these close games. They have that experience of being in them more so than Michigan does, and yeah, could go either way, but I think you got to favor Michigan. But interesting thing, before the potential matchup line, Michigan was a 7-point favorite against Washington, and now they're down to 4.5. So shows you how much people are impressed with Washington's performance against Texas. But yeah, 2 great games. Hopefully we get another one like that on Monday.
And right now our liability is on Washington, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. We've laid them on the money line and on the spread.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to some NFL Week 18, the final week of the regular season. Always a weird week for bettors, and I would assume for odds makers as well. There are some playoff implications. Other teams are sitting their starters. And then we have player incentives. So I want to dive deeper into this. Do player incentives influence how the odds are for certain player props?
I wouldn't go incentives.
Okay.
But I definitely look at records. So if a good example, a few years back, Drew Brees he needed 3 passing touchdowns to pass Brady again.
Right.
They played on a Monday night at home, and the following weeks they had 2 road games. Those types of scenarios influence any kind of pricing I would get involved in. You have to look at the schedules as well, because players, how many times have you seen a player break a record and they've done it at home in front of the home crowd? Very rare do they do it on the road. You also see the added value of money come on those props because the media is pushing, for that example, Brees needs 3 to be the all-time passing touchdown.
That's a good point.
Right? The one thing I do look at pre-season of all sports is a few of the almanacs or the books that you can get in advance. They'll show Adam needs 6 home runs to hit 2,000. Those are things I look at. Incentives, not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's become in the last couple of years something bigger than it ever has been. I mean, it seems like everybody's contract is out in the open. You know, articles are, hey, this guy needs this. You know, it's all out in the open. But like I said, the narrative is going to feed the betting because, you know, obviously people, if Odell Beckham or who we'll talk about in a minute or whoever needs a certain amount of yards, public's going to bet that way because, you know, likely his teammates are going to try and get him that extra money and take care of him. So, but yeah, the narrative feeds all that, and yes, you have to, you know, it's got to be factored in because I think the players want to help their other players out. So yeah, they're going to be in that position one day themselves. So might as well help a guy out, get a few extra bucks in his pocket. So, but yeah, it's definitely something we have to adjust for, and yeah, it's something you have to pay way more attention to with the amount of player props we do have out these days rather than years before.
Yeah, in years past, we didn't offer nearly as many player props as we do today. It used to be just primetime games, and usually it'd be if the game doesn't matter, it probably wouldn't have a lot of player props. Now it's on every game. Every player you can think of pretty much has some sort of prop. So, yeah, I think it plays a big role. And I think the reason why it kind of makes it in the media every week is because of this, is that, you know, OBJ needs X to get, you know, we all remember Gronk a couple years back, you know, they had the NFL films, him talking to Tom Brady to get it. I think that, you know, it adds, you know, something else to look forward to, especially in Week 18 where there's not a lot of games, not a lot of meaning sometimes. So, yeah, I think it makes it difficult, and it's usually, it's up to what their incentive is. Because if I'm the Ravens and I'm trying to sit on my starters, but OBJ needs something, I'm going to put him in until he gets that, and then he's coming straight out. So
Right.
it is difficult as an odds compiler to kind of find your way, but usually the bettors are going to tell you where you need to be, and you're usually going to end up on the right number.
It impacts traders as well. So many moons ago in a previous job, we used to grade as many futures as we could on December 31st if we needed the extra few dollars, just so you could get over line for a trader bonus. So,
That is so funny. That's interesting.
We're all
guilty. Well, let's play a little game involving player incentives. I'm going to give you the name of a player, the benchmark needed, and the incentive, and you guys are going to let me know if they'll achieve it.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Okay, we already started with...
Can I put my caveat in first?
Sure.
These are based on assuming that they play, and there's no orders from above that I don't want to pay this guy X amount of dollars as a bonus.
You can
He can't play.
put whatever...
So we're saying it's a level playing
Yeah,
field.
it's a level
Okay.
playing field.
All right.
OBJ needs 5 receptions for $250K. Does he get it?
Follow. Although Harbaugh said that he's resting the starters, OBJ said this week he's renting a yacht for all the offensive players, take on a trip during the bye week.
It's giving Giants flashbacks.
How do you think he's going to pay for that? I think he's going to get his receptions quick, or there's going to be a lot of targets. Then he's going to get out.
Well, I was leaning no, but if I hear now about this yacht trip, I got to flip my vote to yeah. But no, he's been targeted 4.6 times. He's only hit 5 receptions twice this year. No Lamar Jackson, it's Tyler Huntley. But the yacht thing has to account for something. So I'd be gung ho to get him those receptions if I was a quarterback.
I don't think OBJ needs 250K. I think he's okay. I'd be a fade. As Adam said, he's only hit 5 receptions twice this year, and he's only been targeted 5 times, 5 or more. So, fade for me.
All right. Follow or fade Chris Jones, half a sack for $1.25 million.
Okay, so the answer is in the extra zeros on this bonus. I'm all in. If there's 1.2 million, I'll risk injury. Because I know I've got the Dolphins next week anyway, so they won't need me. If he plays, he has a 53% chance of getting the sack. Get the sack on the first drive. Maybe his friend's the opposite quarterback. Does a Brett Favre, was it, with Strahan? When Strahan got the record. For $1.25 million, I'm playing every down. I'll play on offense as well.
Yeah, sacking 8 out of 12 games. Easton
Yeah.
Stick's been sacked quite a bit in his 4 starts, so yeah, definitely a follow. I think he gets that extra cash.
Yeah, I'm follow as well, and I'm sorry to Easton Stick for being on the wrong side of this.
Maybe you could take Easton Stick on a yacht
Maybe
trip.
they'll talk like before
Yeah,
the game,
exactly.
like, hey, we'll
It's,
lay it through.
it's not
There's,
personal.
Don't hurt
there's
me.
$250,000 Rolex I really like. If I take a...
Right. Okay, fade or follow Austin Eckler, 110 total yards for $100K.
I'm a fade. I think Eckler has free agency on his mind. He obviously had a disappointing year to what he was expected to do, and his health has not been the greatest. So yeah, I don't see the real incentive just to get that extra $100K when you need to look for your future and your future team.
Yeah, I agree with Joey. Fade only reached this benchmark 3 out of 13 times. Kansas City has a strong defense. Last game against Kansas City, only 46 total yards, I believe, so fade for me.
I'm with the boys for once. Yeah, he hasn't hit the number that many times this year. The last time he did, Herbert was quarterback. Easton Stick's not Herbert. I can't see it.
All right. Fade or follow DeAndre Hopkins needs 49 yards receiving for $1 million.
Well, there you go. The answer again is in the extra zero. And they're out, the playoffs. They've nothing to play for. So
Right.
only 6 times has he failed to hit that number. Yeah, I'm sorry. He gets that pretty quick.
Yeah, follow. That million's a lot of cheese. They get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow as well. You know, he's averaging over 63 yards, and no matter who's throwing him the ball, whether it's Levis or Tannehill, I think he gets it.
All right. Geno Smith gets $2 million if Seattle makes the playoffs. Do they?
He deserves every penny if they do. They're a 3-to-1 shot to do it. The easiest route is a win and a Packers loss. That works out as 25%, 3-to-1. So there's his chances.
I'm going to say no. I don't think they get it done. I think they could win, but I think the Packers are going to beat the Bears. But yeah, last week's loss hurt them, so yeah, $2 million would be nice, I'm sure, for him, but it's not all in his hands. So maybe if he does get it, then he can give the Bears some nice gifts.
Yeah, I'm a fade too. I just don't. It's just that the 3-1 is really what's holding them back, and just they can win the game, but it's the Bears want to play spoiler, but I don't know if they can get it done.
All right, that was fun.
Yeah.
Moving on, who do you guys think will be the final wild card team in the NFC?
Math says it's Packers because they win and they're in, and that's minus 165 money line. Although they did have the opportunity last year, and the divisional team beat them in their own home last time.
Yeah. I'm going to say what I said last week with Packers. I think it's set up nicely for them against Jaron Hall and the Vikings. They took care of business. Now, even though the Bears are playing very well down the stretch, I still think the Packers get it done.
I believe if the Packers win, I think if the Rams lose, it'll be the Rams. So I'm going the Rams. They're
But
playing.
the Rams are already in, so that's not the final wild card spot. You're going to technicality.
I thought we were talking about the 7th seed. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Well,
I guess, yeah. I was talking about the 7th seed. I thought it was going to be the. Excuse me. But
I
no.
like it, though.
Yeah, it'd probably be the Packers then for me, yeah.
All right. Adam, what do you think about the Saints' chances? I know people are wondering about their season.
yeah, obviously it all is on the line this week 18, but again, it's in Tampa's hands. Tampa, if they win the division. Saints can still win and still get in the wild card, but they need a lot of help. Game against Atlanta, open 3.5, now down to 3. Totals at 42.5, or 42 was 42.5. Seems like a close game. Falcons beat them early in the season in Atlanta. A lot riding on this season for the Saints. I think a lot of people had them as surefire playoff team. They're minus 190 to make the playoffs. They're a division favorite. But the offense has just been really pedestrian this year. Derek Carr's addition hasn't invigorated that offense like they had hoped. They have a strong defense, but the Saints don't really have a bad loss. Their worst loss, you could say, was to the Packers, which, as a team, they're not bad, but they had a 17-0 lead in the fourth quarter, and that game might come back to haunt them. But it's going to be a close game. Obviously, they win. They don't necessarily have to win the division to get in, but it's a disappointing season if they don't get in for the Saints and their fans. So it seemed like this year was a year that you could pencil in a playoff spot for them, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Right. Okay, moving on, let's circle back to this Week 18 craziness. How difficult is it to set lines for games and player props with all of the uncertainty on who's playing?
Near impossible. We're constantly looking at injury feeds, who's playing, who's practicing, motivation. There are only 4 games this week where both teams have something to play for. Bills, Dolphins, Vikings, Lions, Texans, Colts, Falcons, Saints. Those are the easy ones. Everything else will leave to these boys.
Yeah, it's a bit like bowl season.
Yeah.
I think that, there's meaningless games out there. You have to find out, do they want to play, do they not want to play? And it's just, you got to really be on top of that news in order to make sure that the lines match up for who's playing.
Yeah, it's all information based. It's just like another week of preseason football. Who's going to play, who's not. But we've got a lot of information already. Don't think there's anything left to be determined. I think coaches have played their hands. But it's just normal Week 18 stuff. We deal with it every year, and it doesn't get any easier. It's just you got to be on top of the information, just like always.
All right. Okay, so we saw the Eagles, Adam, I'm so sorry, lose last week. Chiefs got the win, and they clinched the division, but they're just not looking like themselves. Do either of these teams win a playoff game? Do you think they could both easily go one and done?
It's possible. I mean, the Chiefs are going to have a home game, so that works in their favor. Eagles are likely going to be on the road. But we talk about both teams are playing poorly. They're not playing at the top of what people are used to. Both teams in the Super Bowl last year, they don't look like it this year, but that's what happens sometimes. They have the talent, especially the Eagles, I think, but the defense has been left a lot to be desired, and we saw blowing that lead against the Cardinals. I was telling my son, I said, they just got to let them score, and not have some time on the clock to come back, because it just seemed like a fait accompli that they're going to give up a touchdown. But both teams are struggling, but Chiefs have a shot. The Chiefs will be likely favorites at home, so I'll say maybe the Chiefs, but again, questions on both teams. We've talked about it over and over. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went winless in the playoffs.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's wild to say, but it's not an overreaction at all. I think both these teams are really a shell of what they accomplished last year. one of them will probably likely win, but if they don't, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised.
Comes down to home field advantage. So the Eagles could be on the road or they could be at home. I think the Eagles are more likely to win because Kansas City's 2 opponents are going to be tough. So it's easier to predict the Chiefs ones, which I'll get to. The Eagles could be on the road against Atlanta, New Orleans, or Tampa Bay. You'd fancy your chances. Previous Super Bowl contender. They've still got 11 wins, 10 wins. I can't remember how many they've got. They're a double-digit win team. At home, they'll get either Green Bay, Minnesota, the Rams, Seattle, or New Orleans. So I think those are easier things. The Chiefs on the reverse, they know they're going to home game, but they could get Miami, which they'll probably be a 2.5-point favourite and already beat once. Houston, 6.5-point favourite. The Colts, 6.5, and the toughest one will be the Bills, -1. I think it's the Eagles that gets most likely win, but if you've got to go to both those cities in the playoffs, no thank you.
And we'll definitely dive deeper into this next week when we know the matchups, but definitely something that viewers were wondering. Moving on to a new social phenomenon, or maybe not new, I kind of want to say old social phenomenon. Joe Flacco is all over my social feed the past week or two. Is Joe Flacco a top 5 quarterback right now?
Nope, his defense is.
Are we collectively all saying no, he's not a top 5 quarterback?
Correct.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, give your top 5.
Herbert 5, Burrow 4, Allen 3, Mahomes 2, my boy number 1, Lamar.
Go with Adam because I got my sheet.
I mean, I still think, Lamar Jackson, I still think Josh Allen, Mahomes, even though they haven't had great years, Tua, Dak. I mean, there's so many players I would take. If you said, hey, can you switch out Joe Flacco, how many, there's probably 8 or 9 people I would say yes, switch. But obviously that's not happening.
I'm glad you said that.
Oh.
Because I'd love to play a little game with you guys. Do you want to play a game?
Yeah, but is it Joe Flacco now or is it Joe Flacco in his prime?
Joe Flacco currently.
Okay.
And this is going to be a rapid fire game, so no explanations, just yes or no.
I'll try.
And then at the end, if you guys need to get some thoughts out, let's go for it. But is Joe Flacco currently better than Jared Goff?
Nope.
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 Is Joe Flacco currently better than Dak Prescott?
Nope.
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 Is Joe Flacco currently better than Brock Purdy?
Nope.
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 Is Joe Flacco currently better than Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
Nope.
Tie.
Is
Can
Joe...
I vote for a tie?
Sure, why
Okay.
not? Is Joe Flacco currently better than Jalen Hurts?
Nope.
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 Is Joe Flacco currently better than CJ Stroud?
Nope.
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 Is Joe Flacco currently better than Bryce Young?
Yes.
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 Finally. Is Joe Flacco currently better than Matthew Stafford?
Nope.
Nope.
Tie.
Is Joe Flacco currently better than Justin Fields?
Yes.
No.
Tie.
Is Joe Flacco currently better than Jordan Love?
Yes.
Nope.
Nope.
Is Joe Flacco currently better than Derek Carr?
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
Is Joe Flacco currently better than Tua?
No.
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 All right, guys. So
And
now
I
I'm going to
love Flacco.
ask for some kind of explanation because you said no for a lot of those quarterbacks.
Well, it's an entirely hypothetical exercise. I mean, obviously, look, he's not getting replaced. They're playing well with him, so there's no reason, I think the Browns are happy with what he's done. So it's great. One thing Flacco does have that hardly anybody has, only 2 quarterbacks along with himself have Super Bowl rings, and that's Mahomes and Matthew Stafford. So he has that experience. Playoffs would be a different animal, but, can't argue with the success he's had. I mean, I think a lot of people would expect it for him to fall flat on his face. He's, it's past his prime, but what he's doing is amazing. But when you're asking who would you rather have, I mean, I think most of our answers were, yeah, we take a lot of players over Flacco. But, again, that ain't happening. And, he's the Browns quarterback, and I think the Browns are very happy with what he's done.
I've got a question for you, rapid fire then, and you have to answer as well.
Okay.
Is Joe Flacco currently better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, a healthy one?
Tie.
Take Watson every day of the week.
I'm going to say currently, with what he's done, I'm going to say Joe Flacco. I'm on the Joe Flacco train though. Like
I'm
I'm
gonna say no.
on the
I still
bandwagon.
think the potential for Deshaun Watson is much better, and I think he's.
If you're drafting a
We're
team
talking
today,
potential now.
I'm not going Joe
Uh,
Flacco.
Not
I'll see if-
performance.
Obviously, if Watson were to come back, he would be the starter. But.
All right, fair enough. Let's get into our game previews. Let's start with 2 9-7 teams who will duke it out for a playoff spot. The Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. Who would like to start?
I can start. Line opened up Colts 1.5. Now Texans minus 1.5. It's win or go home, I believe. Whoever wins will lock themselves in the playoff. So, additionally, you have a chance to win the division. Both teams are young teams trying to prove their worth to the league, kind of cementing themselves as competitors in the futures to come. On one side, they have a new coach, Steve Steichen, wants to prove that they can compete through adversity with the running back drama at the beginning of the year. Obviously, quarterback with Anthony Richardson going down. They're still in a chance to make the playoff. On the other side, you got C.J. Stroud, phenomenal first year with D'Amico Ryans. This Texans team's young, they're hungry. And he really wants to cement that Offensive Rookie of the Year award to get him in the playoffs and keep Puka Nacua at bay. I like the Texans to get it done in this game. I think C.J. Stroud's a better quarterback in this game and really, wants to prove and give himself a chance to compete in a playoff game.
Yeah, no, can't ask for more. Saturday night, playoffs on the line. Colts won 31-20 earlier in the season, but it's the game where Anthony Richardson got hurt, and no Jonathan Taylor either for the Colts in that game. Could go either way. Yeah, C.J. Stroud's back, played okay last week against Tennessee, but I'm leaning Colts here. I know I always like to say, when the road team wins or the visiting team wins at a home team, it reverses course.
Right.
I just give the edge to the Colts. I think the better running game. Like I said, it's a close game. The line tells you it's going to be close, but I'm leaning in the Colts direction. But it's a great matchup on Saturday night with a lot on the line and two teams that going into the season not many people had as being possible playoff teams. So kudos to Steichen and D'Amico Ryans who have done great jobs this year.
it's prime time. Prime time overs are on a 17-6 run right now. So I remember all those unders at the start of the year. What comes around goes around. Both teams can either be the 4, the 6, or the 7 seed, or out the playoffs altogether. The Colts can still make the playoffs with a win. They'll make the playoffs with a win, but they can still make it with a loss as well.
With a couple other things
they need a
happening.
win and a Jacksonville
Yeah.
loss as well. Texans obviously clinched the division with a win. I made the game pick 'em, so when I saw the flip-flop, it's basically where I had it anyway. The Texans have won 3 of the last 5 in Indy, one of those with an overtime loss thrown in, so an unfortunate one. I think you go with a better quarterback, and that would be Stroud for me right now. Although what these two teams have achieved this year is nothing short of sensational.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
At least this is probably the second biggest game of the week.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have Bears versus Packers. Chicago has already been eliminated from playoff contention, but because these are division rivals, can we expect the Bears to make things tough for Green Bay, who are fighting for a playoff berth?
I think so. As we said earlier, back-to-back seasons where the Packers have had a Week 18 game at home to make the playoffs. Last year they were a 4-point favourite over the Lions and they lost straight up. They get another divisional foe this year in the Bears, who, the Bears have lost 7 straight in Green Bay. They've only covered 1 of the last 5, so obviously Green Bay have the advantage there. The Bears are playing for their jobs for next year, or they're playing role audition for their next team. Obviously the biggest one's going to be Justin Fields because the Bears own the number 1 pick, and we asked the question last week. I think it wouldn't surprise me if the Bears pulled a shot. The Bears have done us a number of favours this year, so we'll probably need another one this weekend.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's really, can the Packers do it again where they fall short of the playoffs? I mean, last year, the Lions already knew they were out.
Yeah.
And they still just
Yep.
played to play spoiler, which really why I like that team. Kind of going in is really just Campbell's really got that team going. But yeah, it's Justin Fields. Does he want to prove that he can be the quarterback of the future? Or are they going to go with Caleb or another quarterback? I think that's really what it relies on, and I know Fields is feeling that pressure. I wouldn't count the Bears out of this. I still think, the Packers have looked pretty well the last couple weeks. They dominated the Vikings on Sunday. So, I think Justin Fields doesn't want, they want to play spoiler. So don't count them out there. They got the first pick. So.
Yeah, no, line opened 3.5 and 44. It's now 3, so we've actually, the line has gone down in the Bears' favor. Total's now 45, but got to give, props to the Bears. I mean, they 5-2 over their last 7, could easily be 7-0. They should have beaten the Lions in Detroit, and they were ahead of Cleveland in the fourth quarter as well. So those two teams are obviously your playoff teams. So, but just kind of think that Green Bay is going to get the job done. Is it me or is it Green Bay always has a home game on the last week of the season? I don't know if that's a rule or not, but they have the home field edge. I think it's going to be close. The Bears, like I said, mad props for what they've done and improving over the last half of the season. But I just think the Pack gets it done. But Bears will like nothing more than to ruin it for their hated division rivals. So
Right.
I expect a good effort from the Bears, but I just think the Packers squeak it out.
Well, I'm glad you guys mentioned Justin Fields and kind of his motivation. He was quoted speaking about Green Bay fans saying they're going to be loud because there's not much to do in Green Bay except watch football. So first off, do you guys agree with that statement?
Isn't there cheese as well then?
Yeah, I think so.
I've never been to Green Bay, so I'm going to withhold judgment. But I don't think it's a good idea to rile up the fans. I mean, look. Once you do that, you got to back it up. And Fields,
Right.
like we said, we've talked about it. Is even going to be the Bears starting quarterback next year. So, but look, it adds fuel to the fire. It's it shows that the Bears are pumped up, and like I said, they're motivated to ruin the Packers' day. So, but
So do
like
we
I said, don't. I don't want to comment on what he said about Green Bay. Maybe we should take a field trip to Green Bay and see if he was, and then we can judge.
So do we
Let's do
like
that.
the trash talk leading up to the game, though? Like you said, you have to back it up. Is it a little cringy because, like you said, they're out of playoffs and Justin Fields has an 0-5 record?
You are asking the wrong person when it comes to trash talk. I'll trash talk anybody in the office about anything. So, no, and even Joey found a lot. Joey's still with us after his chip last week.
I survived.
He survived.
So we like it. We like
I
it.
love trash talk.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely adds fire to the game and some
Right.
excitement, good things to talk about. But if you're going
Green
to talk
Bay-
trash, you got to back it up.
Green Bay is not going to forget that. So,
I'd talk
I'm sure
trash
they
even
will
if
be
I was
though.
no good at the sport.
honestly, I'm the same, Craig. So, okay. Well, now we've got Dolphins versus Bills. In my opinion, clearly the game of the week. This is exactly what the NFL wanted for Week 18. The Bills need to win to make playoffs. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Do they get it done?
You're asking the expert?
I'm asking the experts.
All right. Well, first of all, can I blow my own trumpet or pat my own back? If you followed my advice way before everybody else started circling the wagons, at the Bills' 6th best team, I said they could win the AFC East at 3-1. So if
That's
you
fair.
sat with that 3-1 ticket on the East, question one is, do you hedge the Dolphins' money line, or do you get greedy and take the Dolphins plus the points and hope for the Bills win and not come and take both bets? You know what I'm doing, don't you?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going for the greed. It's nice to see Miami actually hosting the Bills in December rather than the other way around, because the first thing I check every year is, are Miami going to Buffalo, New England or New York in December, because warm weather teams don't do well in December. The crazy thing is the Bills could be the 2nd seed, the 6th seed, or even eliminated, which would ruin my 40-1, so I don't want that. Bills hammered Miami 48-20 in week 4.
How was that game? It was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it was over by second drive. Two was 1-5 versus the Bills. The one win was that 21-19 game last year when Miami held on at the end. It was obviously Tua's first concussion, although he didn't come out of the game. Miami just riddled with injuries at all the wrong time. They can't beat good teams. If you're a Dolphins fan, get the flights ready to go see Taylor Swift next week.
Guys, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's two teams going in opposite directions. You talk about, Craig said, the Dolphins they've only beaten one team with a winning record now is Dallas. They hung on to beat them a couple of weeks ago, and then we talked about last week going into Baltimore and they just got obliterated by the Ravens. So, and other than Craig Mucklow, not many other people have thought the Bills would be in this position. So, credit to them, but the Bills have still struggled. They struggled to beat the Chargers. They struggled to beat the Patriots last week. So it's not like the last few weeks they've run over those teams.
That's
but
a good point.
like I said, Tua doesn't have a good record against the Bills. The Bills crushed them early in the season. It just seems like it's going to be the Bills who are going to wrap up the AFC East, in my opinion. Line is fair at 3. I don't think there's any value there, but it's just two teams going two different trajectories right now.
Yeah, I think the Bills have had nothing but bulletin board material all year long, and they want to prove that they're the elite team. But in the past couple weeks, they really haven't shown that they're an elite team. Just barely squeaking by against mid teams. So it's all on the line. I'm sticking with the Dolphins. I want to see it happen. I just don't think this Bills team is that great. I think they just get through sneaky wins, and it's an injured Dolphins team. They may as well get this win, but I think the Dolphins have something to prove. They now have the doubters. They have the naysayers saying they're not that good of a team.
Right.
I think they get it done and get this AFC East.
I do think if the game gets out of hand early enough, Miami will not be playing their starters deep because they learned the lesson with Chubb last week in a meaningless game. They lost another linebacker. Mm-hmm. Tyreek's had ankle injuries all year. Waddle's got a high ankle sprain. Mostert's injured. Don't risk it. Get ready for Kansas City, a beatable team on the road. Tyreek gets to burn his old team. I just felt this was the case for weeks.
Will Tyreek break the record?
No.
No.
No, and the only way he beats the record is, he's had 3 200-yard games in his career. One of those was 269. He needs 248. The only way that happens is if the game is just up and down the field shootouts.
Yeah.
The only way. Other than that, no. Why risk it? You're trying to win a Super Bowl. You're in the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to watch, though.
Yeah.
But if he's got a bonus for hitting, because he's got to pay for some renovations to his house now, so maybe there was a couple of million bonus for 2000.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into our weekly game predictions.
Okay, I'm going with a college football game. I know I'm the college football lead. I haven't picked a college game all year. I'm going with
A winner or a game?
Well, that'll stay with me. I'm going to go with Michigan minus 4.5. I think they're just the better team. I know Washington's always in these big games, but I just think we're talking about two different leagues. So I'm going to go with the better defense. Go with Michigan minus 4.5.
I like it.
I almost thought about going to the championship game, but the FCS championship
Oh,
game. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the Colts plus 1.5 against the Texans. I think the Colts should be a small favorite. I know Stroud's back. Like I said, each team, the Colts won at Houston, so now it's time for Houston to return the favor. I just think the Colts should be a small favorite. Minshew, game manager, Minshew mania. See if he comes to play at the RCA Dome. But I'm thinking the Colts. I just think they should be a small favorite.
After the all-in winner last week, which was never in doubt, I'm going to go back to Old Faithful. And Old Faithful, and anybody that knows me long enough, is any championship game of any sport under every time.
Right.
Michigan, Washington, under.
All right. Well, I'm going with Packers to secure a playoff berth. Mostly because I think the trash talk never works out. And then also, I'm putting all that bad juju that the Packers have in Week 18 on Aaron Rodgers. I'm saying, that was his problem, and the Packers are going to make the playoffs, and the Jets obviously aren't. So I
Bears.
No, the Jets. Aaron left.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron's on the bench. The Jets didn't make playoffs, and I think the Packers, everyone was like, well, what are the Packers going to do? Aaron Rodgers is leaving. Well, they're going to make playoffs. So that's my pick.
I hope you DM Justin Fields about that.
Yeah, I'll call him later after the game and let him know my thoughts. Of course he's listening right now.
Sure. Hi, Justin.
All right. Well, it's been so amazing to break down every week of college and NFL, every week of the college and NFL season with you guys. I cannot wait to do it for playoffs and Super Bowl moving forward. But this ends our conversation in today's episode. If you don't already, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Caesar Sports. This entire conversation will be uploaded to our YouTube channel tomorrow if you'd like to check out these lovely guys' faces as we break down all the action.
Or maybe not.
Guys, anything you want to say before we end it?
Weather in Baltimore and New England this week, so just be mindful.
All right. You heard it here first. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.